Got the hard kombucha going on today. The best of both worlds.
It is wonderful. This is straight beast. I've never heard of it.
Strange beast.
What did I say? Straight beast?
Yeah.
Straight up beast.
That's something different altogether.
Yeah,
I have found out the straight beast. All right, I'm here to talk today about metal. Just kidding.
Metal.
I got excited.
Oh.
I was like, yeah.
Not metal.
Metal.
Oh, metal. Not
Metal.
Okay.
Metal. Let's talk about corrosion.
Let's do that.
Okay.
I feel like it's a subtle payback. It's great.
When my grandmother was alive, and she blew my mind once by telling me, sorry,
Bless you.
that when your lettuce turns red, it's actually rust. I was like, what?
Oh.
It blew my mind.
Because of iron in the
It's
lettuce.
actually rust.
I
Right.
didn't know that. That's
She was a
fun fact.
chemist.
That's great. No,
Oh,
that totally brings in, ties in.
She was she's a chemist. So
Mm-hmm.
The more you know.
the more-
So and yeah, if you eat that, it's fine in small doses.
because she used to always say, like, when the lettuce would turn red, she would always say, "Oh, it's rusty, it's rusty," and I was like, "What are you talking about? Rusty?"
Yeah, it really is rust.
Yeah, she explained it all
Oh,
chemically.
so smart.
So what is corrosion? One, we know it destroys metals, but how does it work?
I imagine some kind of
Acidic?
chemical reaction.
It is a chemical reaction, so it causes severe damage, can even destroy functionality. So it's one of the biggest enemies to metal. It causes severe damage, and it is Statue of Liberty. Yeah, is obviously in New York. Slightly green, right? It wasn't always green because of its color, because of corrosion over time. You may not know that.
What was its original color?
Metal.
Just
Metal,
Pure
just
metal.
metal
Metal.
color.
Chromed out AF.
oh.
Yeah. Now she'd be green.
I like it green.
I know, but I don't think
Yeah.
I think that may not be actually common knowledge that it wasn't just originally that color.
That's another fun fact.
There you go. Many metals change over time because they come in contact with various other materials. Air, water, gas, acids, alkalis can all affect metal, and that creates corrosion or can cause corrosion. So the best known type of corrosion is rust. So strictly speaking, rust is merely the process of corrosion. It's actually just like part of a process. So it's a natural phenomenon.
Phenomenon. Do, 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 do. Phenomenon. Do, 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 do.
Yep.
Phenomenon. Do, 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 do. Do,
So-
do, do, do.
This is leading somewhere interesting, I promise. I did not start here. I'm actually starting at the end.
When I lived in San Francisco, the cars would all get rusty,
Right.
just because you live by the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So never buy. Also, yeah,
Salt on the
west side,
roads.
don't buy cars from those areas.
Very true. And actually worse on the East Coast because they salt their roads over there,
Mhm.
so it like destroys.
Mhm.
I don't know why I'm telling you that, like it's
I'll
new
make sure
information.
Make sure not to buy those vehicles.
Okay.
Thanks. You guys both looked at me like,
Because you genuinely, it's like when you're
I was
outside.
concerned about you, Sarah.
It's like when we were outside and I was like, I think my legs are as tall as your legs. I think we're actually the same height. And you're like, oh, okay.
okay.
No. Do you, in those moments, are you actually going, she's a fucking idiot?
No, I just never like stood next to
You're
you
so,
directly.
oh my gosh. So you
And
gave
I
me
was
the
like,
benefit of
So
the
you
doubt.
thought all this time Macy might be the same height.
I just might look
exactly
shorter.
the same height, but
like maybe she was just standing next to really
she was
tall
like
things.
going on her tippy toes and trying to get a few extra inches. But
that I was trying to get a few.
Are you trying to get a few, Macy?
You were gonna let me try to get a few.
yeah,
Wow. Okay. So you didn't
So now-
actually believe me. You're
I
just
don't-
trying to let me get a few. You're just
I
giving
was
me a
hoping you
pass.
feel taller and
I feel small. I feel. No, I'm kidding. Where's the head?
Oh, I forgot to get it out. Sorry. I do have Pet Rock out though.
Oh, the doll head. I was gonna put it on
Oh.
for you.
haha.
Mm.
Anytime I say something, you're like,
I had clients today trying to put it away.
I'm gonna hide it every time.
I love it.
I don't leave the doll set out during my
There was one time
sessions.
that you did though, and it was up. in
It
the
was
corner.
over there. Luckily, nobody noticed.
They probably did. They just don't say anything. My therapist has a severed doll head in the corner. What does yours have?
That was the evil maniacal laugh I was looking for last time.
That's pretty good. Okay, what are we talking
moving
about?
on.
Corrosion, whatever.
Rest.
Okay,
This
so
is oddly good.
it is oddly good. I wanted to not like it at first,
But you actually do.
Yeah, I can't
It's like it's that perfect balance of do I like this or do I not like this?
It's like not as sweet as I want it to be, but I'm also kind of okay with it. It's dry.
It's kind of like
it's a dry wet.
Like a sour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A sour.
Yeah. I want to chug it, but it won't let me.
Which is probably good.
Yeah, it's great.
For everybody.
It gets you in the back of the throat
like that's what she said. Sarah said it. Okay, erosion. What am I doing? Okay, here's some different types. Stress corrosion cracking, or SCC, not
It has its own acronym?
Yes, because apparently it said enough.
Wow.
There's an industry.
Oh.
You better answer that.
I don't want to.
It's your child.
They always call during
I know. They know. That's why.
God.
They know it's her sacred time.
Hello?
I feel like this is gonna sneak up on us, and all of a sudden we're gonna.
Well, I'm in the middle of podcasting right now, but as soon as I get home, I can do that. All right, bye.
As you know, child. All right.
How did Asher's hair come out?
That looks really good.
SCC. SCC is so important it has its own acronym. We're going to come back to it now.
Okay.
Stress corrosion cracking occurs when a certain tensile stress or
oh my god, I know what you're going to talk about.
Stress is present. Copper, zinc alloys such as brass, certain plastics.
Well, when she said those words,
okay,
it triggered a bell in my mind.
Good. I'm glad that you've heard this. It does not shock me though that you.
If I'm wrong though, I'll be like, I'll admit it.
Yeah, I'll definitely say it first because I don't want you to say it first.
Okay.
And then I'll even let you be like, yeah, that was it. Like wink at me. Like let me know.
Okay.
On the side. Okay.
Sure.
Wink if you're wrong.
Wink twice.
Wink if I'm wrong?
Right. Like but you can say you're right.
How about 2 winks?
What if you just have
wrong?
something?
How about
wink,
just a
right.
blink is wrong? And a wink.
To have Pet Rock tell me.
How about I move the rock towards you if you're right, and away from you if I'm right?
I'm always going to be right because I had the topic and I'm going to say it first. Okay.
Never mind.
There's erosion corrosion.
That rhymed.
I know. I didn't come up with it, believe it or not. Erosion corrosion was the thing first. So this is caused by a high flow velocity on a metal surface. So this is erosion over time that causes corrosion. It often occurs in pipe bends and pipe ends and influences the flow direction or flow velocity. Wow. Cavitation. There were some cool words out of this I've been enjoying.
It's a lot of lingo
I know.
in this world.
Like erosion, cavitation also leads to material abrasion inside a pump, in liquids, vapor-filled cavities get filled, so you get air pockets basically, or some sort of pressure inside of a liquid system. The temperature and the vapor pressure don't match and therefore starts to create a friction of a kind.
I have a question.
Yes.
So it seems like with all these acronyms and lingo, like this is a whole field of study.
It is.
So what would
this is literally, they should go to it
called?
They might want to go to the academy.ampcometal.com if they're interested in learning more about things like applications, jobs, services in the engineering industry, perhaps.
So it would be an engineer that would
potentially
study corrosion and various corrosion related topics.
I mean, maybe a geologist would do that too. Because it's
what kind of ology this was.
Metallologist. I made that up.
Yeah.
Metallology.
Correct.
Metalocalypse. Isn't that like some cartoon, like a metal cartoon?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Pitting corrosion is limited to small areas. Narrow depressions or holes are created in these areas. A protective film layer of the metal is removed, and the surface of the metal becomes susceptible to attack. For example, pipes can leak due to pitting and no longer performing their function. Maybe like your car AC system. Maybe that's more of a cavitation where there's an air pressure to fluid over metal ratio. That's
well, if I don't deal with that car leak, it will lead to some corrosion. I'm sure of it.
Maybe some pitting first.
Definitely some pitting first.
Did you know that was an issue before it dripped on my toe and made me?
Yeah, because remember when we went hiking?
Oh, I was doing that.
I don't remember that.
Remember when my car was
Did you make
smoking?
that up? What?
I mean, it wasn't
Not the
smoking.
car that was
No,
on fire.
Your new one has the.
We were just in
I
it.
feel like it's the
Did
same
you have a stroke?
issue.
Are you
Both
drunk?
cars? Both cars have the same
What's
issue.
This
happening?
car is hitting hard.
Both of my German
You
cars,
can't talk to me like you make sense right now. None of that made sense.
when the
Sparring through.
coolant comes out because of overheating
Right.
driving up the hill.
Yeah.
It's not smoke technically, but it smokes.
Right, but why would it drip on Sarah's leg from the inside?
Because it's coming through the engine. There's an issue.
Okay.
Also, when it rains, that happens.
in the new car?
Yeah, there's some kind of issue.
It might be a
Shoot.
steel issue too.
I don't think it's a big deal,
No.
but like I said,
I-
over time,
Outside
it could
stays
be a big
out,
deal.
outside in problem.
yeah, that's why I will at some point
And
address
you're
it.
not even a mechanic. You're like, I just-
Basics.
I wanted to share something about the word corrosion.
I now's the time.
Yeah. Back on topic. Good.
I'm here for it. Let's go.
When I was a little kid, like that was an insult to another kid. Tell them they were totally corroded.
Ooh, like pit it out and
You're
gross.
corroded.
Would it be like, you're grody, you're totally corroded?
I remember.
Oh, I remember
Grody.
grody.
Yeah.
It was around that same area.
Well,
era.
how about, do you ever say like, oh, you're such a crevice corrosion?
I never said that,
That's a real
but I
thing,
wish
too.
I would
Wait,
have.
how about? Do you remember Moded? You just got moded.
Yes, moded. Oh, moded and corroded. That was the whole
Do you
thing.
know what moded means? It means like somebody just like called you out or
It's like
busted
demoted.
you or moded. Kind of, I don't know. How do you describe it? Moded.
Like dressed down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like someone made you feel
Called out.
stupid. Or...
But yeah, I remember what say moded and corroded.
Mhm.
I mean, these are really interesting insults when you think about it, when you break it down.
I'm
Yeah,
looking this
Like,
up.
what were we
because-
actually saying?
I'm looking at this because y'all silly.
Like
Moded and corroded.
Oh, see, I told you
Yeah.
it's a thing.
In the Urban Dictionary says being put to extreme shame when proven wrong, tricked, insulted, or embarrassed. Oftentimes used with the phrase
Yeah, very.
"your booty exploded." Also, it's said with a rhythm as though it were a song. Dude, you just get yelled at by that old lady? Yeah, she started hitting me with her purse. It hurt. Ha ha ha. Moded and corroded. Your booty exploded.
Okay, well, we didn't have all that
Yeah,
fancy
you don't have
stuff.
to like do the whole.
That seems more modern.
I did not know booty exploded was part of it until now, though. See, we're learning so much today
Oh.
in our
Really smart.
This is good.
corrosion conversation. So
Really?
there's crevice corrosion. There's also galvanic corrosion, which is between two different metallic materials when they're surrounded by a common electrolyte, like seawater or humidity. There you go. The less noble metal releases its electrons to the more noble metal. This causes the base metal to slowly dissolve or corrode. So the more whatever pure metal type, are you going to show it on your phone?
Metalocalypse.
Oh, I know
It's a
that.
cartoon.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
cartoon.
it is.
Yeah,
Did you not know that?
Mm.
I
It's
just
good.
I can
It's
the
a-
name
it's
of
a-
it.
Yeah.
Has good music. A lot of
Yes.
metal.
I'll have to check
Different
it
kind of metal.
before I wreck it.
Check it for wreck it. Okay, so there you go. That's
All right.
types of corrosion.
Okay.
And now you know what it is. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay, hold on. Now there's, I forgot I had taken 2 pictures of notes, but now they're buried under our adventure.
Yeah, that's why I
Okay,
kept
hold on.
freaking out that my notes were disappearing, but they're there. so,
Okay, I need, okay, 1 second. Okay, here we go. I just wanted to share too. So metals are everywhere. First of all, computers, smartphones, jewelry, skyscrapers, automobiles, it's everywhere. You can't really, like, look, you're playing with metal right now. You got metal on your hands and your rings and your ears and your wrists and your drinking.
Mhm.
You're all about metal. This also relates to your shiny things topic.
Shiny.
We like chrome. We like shiny.
I love the War Boys in Mad Max, where they go chrome to go to Valhalla.
Okay.
It's shiny.
Even the human body has metal. So zinc helps the immune system, and so let's see here. Helps make red blood cells, and high levels of mercury and copper can cause major problems in your body as well. Even your bones need calcium, which is also a metal.
But you need some copper, right?
What?
Doesn't the body need copper?
I think so. Copper.
I'd say I didn't see copper, but that doesn't mean. Yeah, I just
probably not a lot.
Yeah, some levels of whatever. I know that like when they sell mineral water, like a lot of that has some of like those broken down components in it. That's why it tastes like crap. Yeah.
Like pennies.
Do you drink pennies?
No, but is that what it tastes like? That
I mean,
taste?
I don't know. Every time I've had it, I'm like, what is that? Oh, it's mineral. What is that? And that's all I ever have encountered. I don't know why anyone would do that unless they had to medically, but. So metals are important. They help people help healthy. They also build things. So they come from the earth, first of all. So we don't make metal out of nothing. Most metals are found in the earth's crust. Cobalt, iron, and nickel are some of the most common forms in nature. There are types that are made, but it's usually in a combination with something else. We often find it in nature attached to rocks, and that's called ore. So when they're mining for ore, that's what it is. Because you don't often find like big amounts of it together.
I wonder if the orcs are mining for ore down there.
Down where?
You know,
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
You know,
down there where the orcs are.
Okay.
Because that'd be kind of cute, orcs and ore.
I mean, maybe. Yeah.
Did it ever say what they were doing down there? What are they?
They are always.
What are they trying to get?
They're doing a lot of digging all the time.
The holes are really big.
They're way down there.
Just angry.
I don't know. They are angry.
So,
Oh.
okay. 25% of the world's earth is made of metal. Is metal made? Not of man-made, just like substance of the earth. 25% is metal.
Pretty high.
Yeah. Broken down into other things. Okay. So there's that. Just some random things. Do you think we're getting there? Do you think we're getting to your thing? Let's see. Okay.
Pet rock.
So.
Pet rock test.
So we know that metal breaks down over time, either because of substance, air, water, fluid, other metal breaking it down.
Break it down.
We had a topic where I talked about the failing like
infrastructure. So concerning.
Has a lot to do with corrosion over time and not keeping things up to date. So I'm going to talk about science. How close are we getting with that rock? I'm going to talk about a new.
Wait, which direction is the rock supposed to go?
If she's right, then
not right.
Towards her.
No, I mean, see, it doesn't work. I'm confused now.
Yeah, like how are you right or wrong? That's just her help. If you're right, it goes towards you.
My system is flawed.
If you're wrong, it goes.
Can we go back to
okay? If I'm right, I will start to raise this flag.
Okay, start neutral, so I know where it's at.
Okay. That's neutral.
Neutral's in the okay. About science is my first thing.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it.
Recent research.
I'm not feeling it.
Okay, that would have done it for
okay.
you. So.
Flag stays down.
Okay, all right.
I was wrong.
I'm very curious. Can you tell us what you thought it was, and I'll stop you abruptly if somehow you're
roller coaster.
Yeah. Okay. I already did roller coaster once.
The erosion.
No, but that was something that just happened last week.
No, I already did the beheading one, so I don't think.
No, this was just last week, and it was where the metal had was breaking apart on this freaking giant roller coaster, and somebody happened to be filming their son on it and and were able to shut it down. But people could have easily died.
Corrosion.
The whole metal was cracked, and it was just from that stress over time.
Right. Yikes. All right. Oh, I'm excited because you actually don't know.
I don't know.
I'm surprised because it was the science and it was research. I was like, okay, you're in.
Tell me.
And so many directions.
No, if she no, mm-mm.
Science is
She would have known immediately.
Like you're sweaty.
It's okay.
I'm just gonna
tired.
uncross my
I'm
legs.
so on the edge of my seat.
I know. Are you ready? Are you
What's
ready?
it gonna be?
What is that?
Scientists, and this is new, have for the first time ever witnessed pieces of
Oh, I saw that.
metal.
I just saw the headline though, so tell me everything.
Saw pieces of metal crack and then fuse back together without any human
That's
intervention
not crazy.
whatsoever, overturning fundamental scientific theory that we
Do you
have
have
had.
video?
I don't, but I just gave myself
Okay.
goosebumps. It's so new. It's so new. This was in the middle of basically unrelated research on metal at the nanoparticle.
That's why everything is little T truth. There's very little big T truth out there.
Right. So the second, I don't know why I have goosebumps. I do.
It's science.
Your topic about
And beyond.
glitter was about like that really the most broken down aspect of it. All of a sudden, glitter, what we think is just a small confetti.
They all gonna find each other and go back to their original.
And the government's
form.
like the over purchasing of it. And I'm sitting here like we're having a hard time not putting some conspiracy theories together about maybe this isn't the first we know of something like this.
Maybe not. Did you ever see Iron Giant when all the pieces
Yeah.
found each
Yeah,
other?
right. So okay, so let's dive into this a little bit here. Okay.
Show it to your little kid. He'll love it.
Or this
It's got Vin Diesel as the voice.
Okay, so if this newly discovered phenomenon can be harnessed, it could usher in an entire engineering revolution.
Can you imagine?
One in which self-healing engines, bridges, airplanes could reverse damage caused by wear and tear and corrosion, making them safer and longer lasting.
That roller coaster could have just healed thyself.
Okay, can you give like
I
the
can talk
example?
more.
Are you gonna like give details of
I'm
the
gonna-
specific?
Is there video
I'm gonna
of
talk
it
more.
actually doing its thing? Like
I'll
time-lapse?
look that up here in a second to see if there's anything new.
Because
At
I
the
just saw the
time I looked,
photo,
there
but it was
wasn't.
a still
On a
photo.
quantum physics level.
No, this is,
Nanoparticles, so they are the small particles.
Mhm.
this is like
But this is something that like
in our
is not
realm.
supposed to happen,
Sure.
and it happened.
There's no like human intervention going on
At
so
all.
That's like
Well, but I mean, there's other types of, I would say, organic material that we would expect that to happen.
Like my bones when
Mhm.
they shattered,
Mhm.
came back together.
Right. So
Okay. Yeah.
metals would be considered inorganic material, right?
Yeah, but
It's from
then
Earth.
again,
It's like yeah.
Okay.
who knows what's sentient and what isn't, really.
So the research team from Sandia National Laboratories and Texas A&M University, so good work, folks, described their findings in, and this was just this week, in the journal Nature. Said this was absolutely stunning to watch firsthand. What we have confirmed is that metals have their own intrinsic natural ability to heal themselves, at least in the case of fatigue damage at the nanoscale.
Wow.
So something that is like, and that's that stress over time. Fatigue damage is one way machines wear out and eventually break. Repeated stress or emotion causes microscopic cracks, and those cracks grow and spread until it breaks or until it fails. So this team saw this fissure crack, so they call it a fissure.
Mhm.
Fissure. And they actually saw it disappear in front of their eyes. And so measured in nanometers, completely gone. It not just like pulled itself together and had the crack still there, it literally healed
What
the
was
fracture.
like what was the structure or what was the thing like?
Metal.
But I mean, like
What kind of metal?
What?
It
Does it
was,
say what kind of metal it was?
Where was it? Like what were they studying, looking at?
Let me see if I get to that. I was gonna say I don't think I had that in the main part of the article, but it might be down farther. So, from solder joints in electronic devices, bridges, this crack failure thing is the most common.
Mhm.
When they do fail, we have to contend with replacement costs. So it's not something that you typically can repair even that same like spot,
You just
because
have to replace the whole.
because when you replace that, there still will be that connection point that has had the stressor. So unless you replace
Oh,
all
solder. Solder, that's
Right.
what you're saying.
what did I say?
Solder or something.
Solder.
It says solder.
It's SOLDR.
Uh-huh.
Solder.
Thank you.
It's
I don't think I've ever
it's
read
like a
that
metal
word before.
band-aid.
No, that makes sense with welding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I've never seen it written
Or
down
stained
actually,
glass.
ever. Right. So it costs us like hundreds of billions of dollars every year in the US. So this is why it's so exciting, at least on that level of it.
Mhm.
So this has mostly been a science fiction-y thing, like you talked about with the movie. So cracks in the metal were only expected to get bigger; they never get smaller. Even with basic equations, so trying to use math to depict models, the crack growth never went into the realm of healing. So mathematically, that isn't even so that the time travel paper that we talked about was able to put together how this was feasible, how that was feasible through math. We haven't even discovered how it's possible through math before we saw it happen in nature.
That's so cool.
Right. So we still don't know why or like the how part, which is interesting to me. We just saw it happen.
So that's why it's not theoretical physics, because it's freaking right there. Empirical. I'm excited about it.
I'm really excited about it.
I want to cut this can in half and watch it heal itself.
I mean, again, this is the first time ever.
But that's not like a fissure. That would be like a tiny.
But over time, who knows?
It's just.
So apparently this is something that in 2013, Michael Demkowicz, an assistant professor at the time in the Institute of Technology Department of Materials Science and Engineering, who's now a full professor at Texas A&M, he started working on things around conventional materials theory. He published a new theory based on findings in computer simulations that under certain conditions, metal should be able to weld shut cracks formed by wear and tear. So in computing and looking at that side, there was someone kind of already feeling like theory-wise that should be possible. So I think that's kind of cool. Shout out to Dr. Demkowicz.
Woo.
So it came true. He didn't know that it was true, and it was never published past that. But they said they certainly weren't looking for it at the time. That wasn't what their intent of what they were looking at.
Yeah, what were they trying to study?
They were running an experiment at the, and this is a connection here, at the department, or someone who, Chris Barr, who now works for the Department of Energy's Office of Nuclear Energy, was running an experiment at Sandia, and that's all I think I have been able to find in my articles. They only meant to evaluate how cracks formed and spread through nanoscale pieces of platinum.
Platinum.
Through an electron microscope. That they had developed to repeatedly pull on the ends of the metal 200 times per second. So they're like sitting there pulling on metal over and over and over and over again, which again, you would expect to just continuously create cracks. Surprisingly, shockingly even, about 40 minutes into the experiment. Right.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
The damage reversed course on the end of the crack. So the very end of it fused back together as if it was retracing its steps.
Almost like very scary.
Leaving no trace.
Yeah, no, I feel like a little bit.
Goosebumps
Like,
again.
yeah.
Leaving no trace of the original cracks at all.
Like seeing that in real time. Only 40 minutes into it.
There's a little disclosure. I have felt like there's been something weird with the timeline since around 2012, 2013-ish. Like, what if it's something with time also kind of getting wiggly and wavy?
So, okay, so on one end of the crack, so I said that like it left no trace. Over time, the crack regrew along a different direction.
It moved.
Well, it completely healed. And then after a period of time.
That's almost like the brain when you can, like that.
Remap?
Yeah. Yeah. Plasticity. Where it just kind of like will heal one area and kind of if there's damage somewhere, it'll like find a path.
Yeah.
So here's what was interesting. He then shared that research with the 2014 guy. And he ran the experiment on the computer, and it did match a model he had theorized years earlier. And then that work was supported by Department of Energy's Office of Science, Basis Energy Sciences, and the National Nuclear Security Administration, and the National Science Foundation. That happened really quick.
So I'd like to see them replicate it.
Mm-hmm.
Has it been replicated? I'm sure a bunch of people are trying.
I was gonna say it's
There's
still
lots of reasons.
No,
That's
I'm going to
where-
be trying later.
I felt like I have a really short topic. I'm glad we talked a lot.
I'm going to cut that in half later and just stare at it all night.
It's gonna start like.
And I'll text you all. It's healing itself.
It's moved.
So the extent to which these are generalizable needs research. We show this happening in the nanocrystalline metals in a vacuum. So we don't know if this can be induced with metals, conventional metal that's around oxygen in the air. Yet for all unknowns, the discovery is a huge leap forward for material science. And their hope is that the findings will encourage material researchers to consider that under the right circumstances, materials can do what we never expected.
Of course.
And I love that, because that's so like...
We got to be open-minded.
Yeah,
The second you think you know everything, you stop learning.
Right, because then you stop looking. Stop looking for those things that are happening right in front of you. There you go. Self-healing metal. I mean...
Any broken metal now, I'm going to be staring at it, looking for it to...
Well, like,
Side-eyeing
on the nano level, like that right there could have healed tiny little stress fractures all the way throughout that you never even would know.
I know. I need a microscope.
I mean, and not even, I mean, it probably does. It probably has.
Probably has.
We just haven't had strong enough microscopes, and we haven't been looking for it because we thought we knew what happens.
Have you heard that, you know why cats purr?
Mhm.
One of the reasons.
Isn't it like a biological drive to trick us? I did a
Maybe.
cats episode. I don't know.
think there's probably multiple reasons, but it's also because the vibration or whatever's in the purring helps heal bones faster. So there's something
Something with the movement and the shaking.
You know, when they're jumping around and everything, they get little stress fractures in their bones, and so the purring actually helps the healing process speed up.
We should all be purring.
Well, and I was reading that's why I got to the topic of corrosion, and I actually kind of skipped a little piece there, but corrosion came up because it was talking about, I found an article that just talked about how corrosion can be halted by certain metals having it was like basically like the way that the certain metals like moved with other fluids in between could help halt or reduce damage by corrosion. I was like, so if it can halt and stop, there's obviously something there that's stopping it from getting worse. Yeah. So like there's obviously another component to it, but there's pieces there.
You don't have to be moded and corroded.
Maybe not.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't do it, but yeah.
If you find a video, send it.
Good
Yeah.
job for teaching
I'm gonna
us
look on the
today.
email real
You're
quick.
a great
Have either of you ever been on a cruise?
I have.
And how was that experience for you?
I was a freshman in high school, and I was on the dance team, and so we went, and it was like a carnival cruise, and we stopped in New Orleans and the Cayman Islands, and it was kind of scary. I mean, being way out in the ocean, it was a little unnerving. Like, it definitely gave me a kind of this claustrophobic-y, like, I don't know, just kind of scared, like a sketchy feeling. And then I did get a little seasick, and I had to get those bands that have the little these little pressure things in them to kind of like help. I don't know what it does, but yeah, I don't know. I was a little nervous.
Did you find the video?
Do you want to see?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's long, so we don't have to watch the whole thing, but I'll flip through it. But so this is because again, we're looking at a very, very small scale thing. So okay, so this is, sorry, I'll back it up. So the green is where they start to say that it's
like healing itself.
Yeah, because that is where there's now new material filling in on those cracks.
So new material is being created.
Well,
That's
it's not.
fascinating.
It's kind of, I mean, and it's the same platinum. There's no
material.
other, it's in a vacuum. So there's nothing to create other than to reform itself.
Mhm.
Something's creating a bond.
So like it goes all the way up here.
That is incredible.
Mhm.
Woo, woo.
Okay,
We
sorry.
don't know much. Have you
Have
been
you
on a
been?
cruise,
Yeah.
Macy?
I have. I went to Alaska.
And how was that for you?
There's a lot of older people.
Okay.
It was very like I enjoyed Alaska.
So I have never wanted to go on a cruise. It's always seemed like
It was fun. I mean,
super
it
terrible.
was fun too. I mean, you had a good time, and
Well, I mean,
they had like a dance party night. and
obviously people go on cruises, so
the food
not
was
everybody needs
great.
it.
But yeah,
There's
just
a lot of old people. I was
looking
21.
out into the ocean and just knowing that we were kind of like stuck on this ship, that was definitely scary. A little scary. Mm-hmm.
I would consider going on a boat, like to go from one place to another. Like that was my mode of transportation.
The ferry.
But I would never
Mine was a
intentionally
7-day.
go on a cruise where it's like that's the intention.
Mhm.
But I did, for research, decide to pretend I was going on a cruise. And so I went on Princess Cruise Line's website to see, like, if I was actually going to book something for December. I thought that'd be a nice time to get the hell out. December, yeah. So I was like, what would a 10-day Mexican Riviera cruise cost? So, but I wanted a room with a balcony.
Course.
Because there's no way I'm
What
gonna be down
How many days?
low.
How many days?
10 days.
12,000.
Because I want to be able to jump off if I need to.
That's instant death.
Yeah, that's like the last thing you want to do. Never
I
get
don't
on a
want to be
boat.
trapped.
Don't get on a boat.
1,700 per person for a room with a balcony. It goes to 4 ports.
Don't do it.
Includes the standard fare includes, dining, but just in the regular buffets, entertainment, your room unlocks as you approach, and there's an app that like tells you where you are all the time. It's so weird.
Well, I'm sure you get like confused because there's like it's like being in a hospital. All the hallways look the same, and
there's
you
no
get
windows.
disoriented. Yeah.
And weirdly, but I mean, some people may think it's fine. Youth and teen clubs for ages 3 to 17. I personally would never take a kid on a cruise, especially a 3-year-old. That just seems like the opposite of fun to me. But no judgment. You do you.
You don't have a babysitter, and he has extra money.
Yes.
Or if they had enough amenities to keep your kid happy.
So you have to pay extra for stuff like alcoholic drinks.
Right.
Eating at the good restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
laundry service, spa services, going off the boat to do the things on the shore, doing the excursions. Yeah,
I just do this.
So I mean, I thought that was good to kind of look into how that works.
It's just pretty anxiety provoking because once you're off the boat and then you have like a time limit that you have to be back by. Like I did a tour, like a local tour thing, but I'm in someone else's van, hopefully gonna get back in time.
Relax because you're
you're like I have to be back in an hour or they're gonna leave me in Alaska.
And in my research, it says the boat will leave without you.
Oh,
no problem.
Sure, they don't care.
They don't care.
They got their money.
They're not gonna.
You pay up for him.
Not say a lot for one person.
I went to New Orleans, was one of our stops, and we went on a bayou tour and to go see like the crocodiles and so we were out adventuring, and in the back of your mind you're like, oh, you better get back there.
How's that fun?
Yeah, I mean it's stressful.
Well, in all the port towns too, like in Alaska, everything's a jewelry store and they're all the same jewelry store. So we stopped in like all these different port towns in Alaska, and you're like, this is cute, and then you're like,
same sterling silver thing that you saw the last one.
Every place has the same thing. I mean,
shaped like a feather or a moon.
That's like when I went to Arizona.
So bad.
That it's like the turquoise.
Yep.
Just all of that stuff.
Yep. And you're like, oh, this must be local. No. You have to go like 20 miles in to get anything local. Everything's there. It's all staged, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Probably owned by
I mean, not
the
convincing me to go on a
yacht.
cruise.
Sorry.
Are we supposed to be?
No, I was like open
was-
to it, but I haven't changed my mind. In fact, I'm like less inclined now.
Alaska
even.
was cool on when you had a balcony because like just sitting out there and watching like the glaciers go by, I saw mountain
I
goats
would
like
like to do
whales
that.
just on my own
That
balcony
would
in
be
the
nice.
room. That was
Yeah.
cool. Everything else I could honestly pass on.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's
Was there shuffleboard?
I didn't partake, but
But
again, there
was
a
it
lot of
available?
old people in mine. I was
Well, you were
21,
21, so
and I was there with my
just
aunt.
older.
A lot of
older.
old people go to Alaska.
What does old
on a
mean for
cruise?
you?
Old at the time meant white gray hair. No one near my age, and they did games like what's the one where you like
bingo?
no where like you have to like quiz your partner to see if you know about them enough.
Ew.
Like the marriage game?
Yeah, because there was all these people who've been married forever, and so they're like get the
Newlyweds?
game show quizzed
Yeah,
on.
newlyweds.
So they apparently didn't have a youth and teen club for you.
No, they have
You may have
one
had
bar
more
with
fun.
a lot of alcohol.
That you have to
is
pay
fine.
extra for.
Oh, out of pocket, we call that, yes.
Mhm.
So some
I feel
people
like
might
2 drinks a day or something at least.
enough for me stuck on that fucking boat. So you might think a cruise ship is relatively safe, but they are actually very dangerous. There's a lot of crime.
Ah. From staff or other?
Well,
Both.
sexual assaults are one of the biggest problems that happen, according to cruise line maritime attorney Charles Lipone. So I learned there's a whole area of law that is dedicated to like cruise
That
law.
makes sense because maritime is
'Cause,
means
yeah,
you're not
Right.
It's a whole
You're in
thing.
like this gray area.
All about freaking cruises. I learned so much from these law websites. It was
Interesting,
fascinating.
yeah.
well, that's so true too, because a lot of the people they hire from what I've picked up in random places there a lot of younger people they hire who are like wanting to travel for a little bit, and they often get dropped in a location and then will like live there for a while and then go to another cruise line or that sort of thing. So it's a lot, almost like can be a very transient lifestyle in a way for people who work
If
there.
you're born in the ocean.
Who are you?
Where did your mind go?
What?
Who
I'm
are
just
you?
wondering,
Why are you thinking
what
about
citizen?
birthing babies in the middle of the
I'm
ocean?
just wondering about.
Why would you
just
go on a cruise ship when you're that
citizens,
pregnant?
no man's right. You should definitely.
Babysitter, you said, if you don't have a
Yeah.
babysitter for
Yeah.
your belly.
But like, what?
Babysitter for your belly.
Who are you as a citizen? Do you get to choose your citizenship?
I would hope so.
What if you're born on an airplane?
I would want
Are
to
you a citizen
choose.
of where you took off
I
from?
think they have to choose if they want you.
I'm sure there's a series of
You
questions
pick any place.
that happen
Is
regardless.
the world your oyster at that point?
The
No.
world is my
The
oyster.
world does not care that you exist, little oyster.
So these crimes that happen on a ship are usually poorly investigated by untrained or unqualified cruise line security guards
Yep, similar.
as
mall
law
cop,
enforcement
Cruise
agencies.
cop, mall cop.
Maritime mall cop.
There's no jurisdiction for any law enforcement agencies
That's
in
good to know.
international
Like,
waters.
what are they gonna like get for underage drinking? What,
Well, nothing's gonna happen.
under the sea?
So
Under the
as a
sea.
result, many perpetrators to
Love
sexual
these,
assaults
Spencer.
and other crimes
That's unfortunate.
are not identified and are not prosecuted. So they get away with it.
Because they don't know what the heck to do with it.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to know
People just get
exactly
fired, probably.
how many accidents and injuries happen.
Warning.
Cruise ship lines are reluctant to disclose negative information around their ships, and there's no international
say ship?
agency
What if it's,
tasked, probably
I wonder if it's like,
tasked with gathering and reporting these statistics.
I wonder if it's like some community mental health scenarios where it's really hard to get fired because they're just like so shorthanded. So that's like you just get moved to a different location.
Well, I
Don't
mean,
think
are you
that's happened to
thinking
me,
that it's the
but-
staff that's perpetrating
Not
The
all of
crimes?
it, but I do think that's possible.
It might
I do think it's
be.
highly plausible actually, because they're the ones consistently there.
well,
it's expensive to go on those boats. So I want to know like who's paying that
That's
money
what-
just to steal from
Exactly,
someone else.
that's what I was thinking.
Other than like the people
Yeah.
who are working there that are getting underpaid, treated poorly, and
Maybe that's how they pay for their
not
cruises.
to say that those kleptos don't exist on that boat who are purchasing the tickets as well.
That's a lifestyle. They like
Right.
steal and get to purchase their next cruise. and
maybe
then steal and just-
right, yeah, I don't want to
live-
exclude that.
They just live on the sea.
However,
Definitely.
I don't. It's just not a.
I mean,
walk
cruise
through
ships
crime.
do want passengers to have a good experience. So I believe if they knew one of their staff was doing something, they would definitely kick them to the curb
To
or
the-
leave them in
they
some
kick 'em-
exotic
Yeah, but, like,
port.
They kick them to the water.
But like those
Yeah,
are
kick them
huge.
to the water.
Those are huge.
You just have a chute, they just send you out.
companies. Of course, they
Right.
say they care, but like that's a huge system to manage.
So according to Cruise Law News, which I really thoroughly enjoyed perusing their website,
It's like me about on my medal. It's like this is the whole thing.
no, yeah, it's a whole thing. I'm like, wow, I never
I
knew.
never knew.
There were 26 sexual assaults, which were documented by the Department of Transportation, which occurred on ships in the Carnival fleet in just over 1 9-month period in 2017. So that's just what was reported. So that's definitely under what was
Right.
probably the reality.
And I definitely see that happening towards staff. Like I could see some handsy, drunk people on a boat
From
from
the customer
customer.
staff.
Yeah, or getting angry and you're confined. Like it's harder to swap out, you know, and be like, I'm not dealing with this person, or I'm taking the day off.
So according to the Maritime Injury Guide, which is also a great resource to look through in your free time, this collects info from the U.S. Coast Guard and the U.S. Department of Transportation. Between the years 2005 and 2023, there were 448 major cruise ship accidents, 15 cruise vessels sank, and 16 people died in cruise ship accidents. But that number actually doesn't jive with another stat I looked at, so that's interesting. Here are the 5 leading causes of cruise ship accidents.
I was wondering.
Ready?
I'm like, what
I'm
kind
ready.
of accidents are happening?
So, operator negligence. And here's the stat that doesn't jive with that. In 2012, the cruise ship Costa Concordia ran aground off the coast of Italy with 4,200 passengers and crew on board. It immediately began sinking, but an order to abandon ship was not given for over an hour. So captains are ultimately responsible for the actions of their crew, and the captain of the Costa Concordia was found civilly and criminally liable for the deaths of 33 people
33.
related in the incident.
So
Yeah,
he would have called like abandoned ship.
if he
sooner.
would have given directions, yeah,
In theory, yeah.
it,
Could have saved some people.
yes. Number 2, weather and sea conditions. So although ship personnel cannot avoid bad weather, they are responsible for ensuring that the cruise ship passengers are prepared for its occurrence. So passengers should be directed to safe locations or instructed to shelter in place. So they need to be taking some kind of action to protect passengers. So remember, again, this is from a law website.
Right.
So they would be able to help people make lawsuits when the ship didn't do enough to protect them, even in cases of, weather.
Right, because it's more about negligence at that point than like liability. Like they may not have caused the weather, but they may be negligent in taking the steps to
Right.
prevent more harm.
You're gonna love this next one, Macy.
Okay.
Number 3,
Specifically.
contaminated food and water.
Oh.
The number
Why
one
am I
illness
Oh.
that occurs on cruise ships is
Oh.
norovirus, which Macy had real bad when I was with her.
I want to count across our podcast how many. That's a drinking game for everybody. How many times norovirus is?
Tries to guess that.
How many times me
Shitting and puking.
has come up on this podcast?
Was
Oh
she traumatized by that?
no,
I
I
was
was just
traumatized by that.
I was supportive of Macy.
I was
you
in the
know,
hospital and had a shat in a bucket
With-
to my best friend.
with towels.
I was deathly
towels.
I thought I was
draped
dying.
around her.
I literally was stretched out in the park
Thought
on
you
the
were gonna die.
ground
So
in
that is
Tri-Cities.
PTSD there.
No, I literally
I had to
thought
pull
my
over.
insides
I was
were
just
so
trying to get her to
dehydrated, I was
the
dying. That's
freaking
what I thought was
hospital.
happening.
But we had to pull over every half block so she could puke out the door of my car.
It's
I'm like,
horrible.
we need to just get to the hospital at this point, but also I didn't want her to puke in my car, so that was the whole thing.
It was like every corner I threw up
Yeah.
in someone's yard.
Yeah,
And then all the way home. They gave me an anti-nausea pill that didn't kick in for a while.
yeah. Look, every time we had an opportunity to stop at a restaurant, we
They
did
were
the
like,
whole way
oh,
home.
it's going around. Ew, I've been here for a day.
So it's a highly contagious
The only place I
gastrointestinal
was at was
disease
Sherry's.
I was gonna say, yeah.
spread through contact with contaminated food and water. It is very difficult to eradicate. So
It
once
stayed in my insides for 2 years. I had gastrointestinal issues
Where
for
were
2
you?
years. I could not have anything fatty or saturated fats, anything fried without horribly crying in the bathroom, gut pain daily. It was horrible. 2 years. It finally went away magically, like less than a year ago. It just went away after I got back from Spain.
Wow. Where were you though? I mean, I know
Sherry's in Tri-Cities.
Tri-Cities.
no, we weren't in the Tri-Cities.
Where was it?
We were in
Yakima. It was Yakima. That's right.
Yeah.
And then I had a $1,600
You were
bill
yakking
from
in
that.
Yakima.
I owed $1,600. $1,600
Hospital?
from that
That's a
visit.
big bill.
No no ambulance ride or anything. And all they did was give me anti-nausea pills. I shot in a bucket and they sent me on my way after they gave me fluids.
Well, when I took her to the hospital and they said they went like this, they're like, most of this waiting room has people with norovirus, and you could see me backing away. I'm like, I'll just wait for you
I'm
outside.
surprised you didn't get it.
I did not get it.
It was at the end of the tournament too, and like I had skated
This was the roller
with
derby
a ton
tournament.
of people, and I
Oh.
did really good up, and I was so mad about having to be done because we ended up like
Yeah.
winning.
No, we ended up winning.
We won.
But the team was down to 6 people at the end.
Because other people got it too.
No,
No, just
Never-
That.
various people were in the hospital.
And nobody else got it.
Nobody else
She's like,
got it.
it ruined me for years of my life. It made me feel
That's
like some
messed
solidarity.
Okay, back to the
I wish you
cruise.
had a spider in your hair today, Sarah, and then you'd understand. Sorry, what?
Back to the cruise. I'll bring the norovirus in a little while
Please
again.
don't wish it on me.
So
I'm gonna wake
once
up tonight with one.
once this
This is kicking in great, by the way.
this
Good
disease
plan. Yes, this disease.
becomes, rampant on a cruise ship, it's really hard to eradicate
Yeah.
because everybody's drinking the same water on a so the cruise ship will keep things quiet until it's really aggravated. So this makes it even more of a problem because they're not going to tell you that there's an issue until it's like a really
Everyone's
big
gonna
issue.
panic, right?
Number
Start
4.
jumping
And they're gonna stop
overboard.
buying things.
Number 4, lack of adequate security. So an average cruise ship is about 1,000 feet long, roughly the length of 3 football fields, and has many levels, and it's really difficult to keep monitored. There's usually, maybe around 6,000 people sometimes if the cruise is fully booked. There's casinos, there's pool areas, bar areas, entertainment
Stores.
areas, stores. So it's very difficult to monitor, and negligent security may overlook things like people falling off balconies.
It is surprisingly easy to lean over a balcony.
And that happens actually surprisingly common according to Cruise Law News. People just fall off.
I want to know what surprisingly common
Yeah,
is.
I need stats.
That's
on that.
surprisingly vague.
I need
I want to
stats
know like
on
1
how
in 3
many
people that lean over fall.
And then people fall overboard.
We just walked over those scary stairs today, and
We
none of
did.
us fell.
We're being
once.
very careful. We're ninja-like.
Yeah, if people are at the bars, like drinking all day,
Right,
and
drinking.
you're just out on your balcony, and
Some of our
Or people could
elder
be
folks.
pushed, or people could
Uh-huh.
jump off
Murder.
intentionally.
intentionally.
Yeah. So crime, accidents, and people falling overboard are all security related issues
Overboard?
on cruise ships. Yeah, falling off the ship.
I know.
overboard.
It's just no, you're good.
But the number 1 reported crime is sexual assault. Very few crimes are reported to the FBI, and fewer of these are
Yeah.
resolved.
People can't keep it in their pants
I mean, some
or
of
their
the
hands to themselves. That's more of the basics.
so number 5, cruise ship fires. Thankfully, this doesn't happen that often. There was only
Because of all the water.
there were only 72 fires reported on cruise ships between 1990 and 2011. And generally these happen in connection with other incidents such as crashes or grounding, running aground, crashing into
Like
something.
They do the whole safety thing at the beginning that you have to stand there on the side as they go through, like, here's how you know, the tube lifesaver thing. Obviously I remembered it.
You know what to do if you're cooking and all of a sudden your pan just like
Baking
catches
soda
on
next to my
fire.
stove.
Okay, maybe
I'd throw a towel over it.
take the lid, just like suffocate it with the lid of the pan.
Or the towel too, yeah.
Maybe.
Or the baking soda.
Yeah, that would work. Okay.
That takes some
I just have it there. That's one
rummaging
thing
in a cabinet.
and never.
You know what I
Never had
usually
to
do though?
try.
Here's what I actually do.
You're like going and it's not working.
What I actually do, like when my toaster's on fire or something.
What did you catch on fire recently? That's what I want to.
I forgot what I was cooking. I think it might have been fish or something, but we had the pan up really hot, like super hot. And the smoking point, like I was actually like checking the temperature, but I think our pan was kind of old and it wasn't reading it correctly. So when I put the oil in, it just like bursted into flames.
Woo!
And I had like the pot holder. I'm like, oh my god.
Scary.
So put the lid on it and it went out.
Feathers it.
So
Fires need air.
firerescue1.com says 1, keep the door closed, turn off the appliance and plug it if you can, let the fire burn out in the enclosed space. Don't peek. So actually they want you to leave the room because it'll eat up all the oxygen in the closed room. Okay. Stovetop fire says that
I don't
when you're
think that's
selecting
realistic.
your pot or pan, you'll be able to use a cooktop stop toast. So you cook. This is alcohol now. Using to cook on your stovetop, pull out the lid or a cookie sheet to completely cover the pot, or but that's just for stovetop fire. It says oil or grease fires you want to. Now you could do that too. Turn off the heat source. Baking soda is listed.
Nice.
Last resort, dry chemical fire extinguisher.
I have an extinguisher too.
What I typically do though is I grab it and run out the back door with it and throw it into the backyard. That works well too.
I was thinking about that and then I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna like burn. I just knew if I like.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying my mode is what's recommended.
That was the first thing that went through my mind.
No, that's just my panic brain.
I was
Douse-
like, need to run and
Douse
throw.
the fire with baking soda, salt, or a fire extinguisher. Never
Oh.
water.
Yeah.
Well,
There you go.
yeah. You gotta smother
Helpful
it.
tips here on deeply disturbing things.
Right. If you
Changing
can't
lives.
find a lid big enough, close the door. That is a lid. You just destroy one room.
No, thank you. I'm never gonna do that
cookie
method.
sheet.
I'm never gonna just walk out of the kitchen. First of all, my kitchen doesn't have a door, but I would never do that.
If it's big.
Well, it would never get big.
What
Do
if
you
it was
have a-
big
'Cause I'm
before you
there.
got there?
Do you guys have fire extinguishers?
Your
Oh
children-
yeah, I
your
have a
children
fire
don't
extinguisher
cook.
right in my kitchen.
Yeah.
Your children don't cook.
They do, but I have a fire extinguisher.
Hmm.
It's right there by the kitchen for that reason.
Mhm.
Mine's under the sink.
You gotta do pass.
Yeah, yeah.
Pull
It did go
and
through the pass procedure. I did not.
sweep something. I don't know what the other S is. Cruise ships, as I mentioned, are a hotbed of sickness and disease.
Ooh. It's like hotbed.
A hotbed.
It's a hot mess.
It can.
Hotbed.
You have large numbers of people crammed into relatively small spaces. They're all exposed to germs. You know.
Willy Wonka at the hotbed of old people.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I have never. Every time I see one of these like news stories of a horrible thing, an outbreak on a cruise ship or whatever, I'm like, yeah,
Or during
even more
coronavirus,
reason that I
Yeah,
would
that's
never.
all I would hear during COVID was
they
all
were
the
just like,
Yeah, they're out
stuck
there
on
for
there.
months.
They wouldn't let them come back.
No, they're like, you stay offshore. No, thank
you're
you.
gonna die on a boat. No one's
They
gonna
turned to
know.
cannibalism, but they never reported it.
So the CDC says almost 1 in 10 passengers got a gastrointestinal illness between 2008 and 2014. So that's well over 120,000 people, and that's underreported.
I wonder
Remember,
if that's when they go to ports and drink water off, maybe in different areas.
It could
or
be
is it just
anything.
on the ships?
it's just like anything gets introduced and it's going to spread like wildfire because
These are all in
it's a
close
freaking
proximity.
floating petri dish.
I was scared to eat for years. I was
Ugh.
scared of every meal I ate for years. It's so horrible.
Okay.
It usually goes through and stops, but like it can destroy your gut enough that it creates long lasting damage.
Yeah.
Food
Keep it
poisoning
probiotics.
also happens.
Keep looking for that. Gut.
Well, kombuchas,
I know,
probiotics.
trust me, she pushed kombucha on me for a long time during that period.
Mhm.
The one thing that worked was Spanish food, and there's no preservatives or anything that were, so it was all like local food. And I think being there for
Yeah,
2 weeks, that's
that
what did
helped
it.
you. That's cool.
So ships are also notorious for bed bugs, which, while they don't transmit disease, can make you real itchy with their little bites.
I've had an experience with bed bugs,
And they can be very expensive to get out of your house.
and
Yeah.
horrifying. I found out once that I had bed bugs, and it was like they were actually, I will never have a cloth headboard ever again, because they were like, you know, behind the buttons and then behind the fabric behind somewhere.
I'm itching too.
I had no idea, because they don't come out in droves. They will bite you in that, and then
Well,
they
you
last
don't
for a
see
while,
them
and then
till,
they come
like,
back
microscopic, right?
until they eat, and then they're like the size of a fucking tick. That's how I eventually saw one for the first time. Like, what the
Because
is
they got
that?
engorged.
And so I thought it was the first time. And then I peeled back, and there was a horde
Macy,
behind there. It was
no.
horrifying.
Macy, no.
Horrifying.
No, Macy, no.
Macy,
Horrifying. And then I found out by viewing the various sizes that generationally, like for them to get that size and to have these ones and these ones, probably a year at least, that these things have just been coming down on occasion and eating me and then going back.
Did you have like itchy little bites?
I mean, I probably chalked it up to like I nicked my leg shaving. Like, it was not like I had a ton of bites ever. Like, that's not even what made me wonder. It was horrifying. You have no idea. I literally got told to close the blinds because I looked like I was I was freaking out. I was ripping buttons off the thing. I'm like, no, they're everywhere. Yeah, it was horrifying.
Did you burn your whole house?
Oh yeah, the whole bed, everything.
That could be a whole nother topic, bed bugs.
That's it. That's all I want to talk about it.
That's a really good topic, because that's terrifying.
They can go dormant for 5 years and not like eat anything or be frozen.
The good news is they don't transmit disease.
That's true. It was like they're actually sound much worse than they.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of
do.
stigma around bed bugs, so I just want to put that out there that they do not transmit disease.
And that's why I want to normalize that I've had them, not on my person, but maybe at some point on my body while I was sleeping.
I mean, if they're right by your headboard, chances are
Endlessly.
they're probably coming out at night for a little
snack.
snack.
So they when you turn the light on, they legit freeze. And when you turn the light off, they
like
run and hide. 100%. So it's like you don't see them at all when the light's on. And it was just out of the corner of my eye. One time I saw it, and it was because my cat, I saw like did that, and I went,
cats see everything.
I was like, what the F was that? And then I turned my phone really fast, and I caught one that was like frozen. I'm like, I thought it was a tick, but apparently it just had eaten me.
Ticks are awful too.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever even seen a
Like a 2
tick in
years
real
ago,
life.
my dog had one, and it was like this fat thing.
Ugh.
And I didn't even know what it was, and I looked it up, and apparently, so Nick like grabbed it and like popped it, and you're not supposed to do that because it can like spread airborne.
Oh,
And
popped it like a pimple?
it just bursts blood because they just suck blood out.
Yeah, that's
And they're tiny, but then when they like engorge, then they like eat off of like your animals or whatever, and then they fill up with blood. They're so gross.
Okay.
Sorry, what?
I wanted to highlight one incident.
Okay.
So among this long list of bad things about cruises, You can get stuck at sea.
Mhm.
Maisie, stop texting.
Sorry. We've gone longer than I was expecting today because we did our outing, so I was just giving a heads
Field
up.
trip.
Yeah.
So I want to share about the poop cruise of 2013.
So we're finally getting
I'm here. I'm here. Phone's down. Let's do this. Go ahead.
The Carnival cruise ship named the Triumph
Here's so many bad things about Carnival cruises. I don't know.
was known as the Fun Ship.
The fun shit.
The Fun Ship. 13 decks, 4 swimming pools, a massive casino floor. This experience was described by survivors as Lord of the Flies, Hunger Games. One person said it was like a hot porta potty. When the ship tilted, it would spill.
No.
So let's get into it.
Should I walk out? Like, am I gonna be super triggered? Do I need to leave?
I mean, I triggered by poop.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you can
You
leave.
can exit.
Is
Is this because of coronavirus? Because or not
You mean
coronavirus.
norovirus?
Whatever one.
Coronavirus.
So at 5:16 a.m. on February 10th, 2013, the passengers were sleeping. They'd spent a day in Cozumel, probably not a whole day, probably 8 hours. A fire alarm had been activated in one of the engine rooms. A pump had ruptured, filling the room with flammable oil. So at 5:28 a.m., this message kept going out, repeated on the PA system. It said, "Attention, Alpha Team, attention, Alpha Team, Alpha Team."
That's terrifying.
Can you imagine being
No.
woken by that?
Alpha team, like, you know, they're like a legit, like, elite. Like, if you're an alpha, like,
No, and then
you
those
guys-
people are rolling out of bed saying they don't pay me if enough for this 50 cents more than the chef, really.
Well, it was
Leader team.
actually code for a fire.
Okay.
So I don't know why they don't want to tell people that the ship's on fire. I think that's
Panic.
concerning. Like,
Yeah,
why is that a
people-
secret?
Panic.
People might jump overboard.
I heard I was in a Walmart recently and they did a code over the top and it reminded me of a place that I've worked in the past that had a code. Dr. Bell was code for something. And
I know this place.
and I was in the Walmart and
You know that place?
they did a Mr. Walmart calling Mr. Walmart and I'm like,
But
You
what
know-
was it?
I didn't know
Something's
he
going down.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know he'd be here today. Well, it's Mr. Walmart to the liquor section. And I was like, they don't sell liquor
Someone
at Walmart.
do
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay,
Wait,
someone was
what?
breaking into the
Someone
liquor
was
cabinet.
breaking.
Mr.
Someone was
Walmart
stealing-
to the liquor.
Someone was
Whatever.
stealing
I was like,
alcohol.
It was code for something.
Yes, 100%.
Somebody was probably breaking in.
I
I
know,
think you're right. Yeah.
Drinking alcohol.
or someone was drunk like at that counter or something.
Mr. Walmart.
Like, that's so
the
obvious.
staff was drinking on the job.
You can't get anything by us. So guests on the first and second decks opened their doors and found smoke. Certain areas of the ship were evacuated, but there were no ship-wide directions given. So this meant that guests were just wondering, WTF going on? So they're putting on their life vests. You know, everybody's thinking Titanic, right?
Oh,
100%.
So
I thought
they're-
that the whole time I was
First
on the boat. I was like, what am I gonna do when this bitch goes down?
So
Yeah.
they put on their life vests. They're rushing to like the evacuation lifeboat areas. They're like, I'm gonna be first, but I know how this goes down.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be right in
I
line for
didn't
that
have a
lifeboat.
jack. Like, who's gonna die in my honor?
And when they got out there, they could see black smoke like visibly billowing from the
Terrifying.
smokestack. No, I'd be like,
And no
thank you.
news is not good.
Exactly.
Obviously, the captain's dead. We've all
Give
given up hope.
directions. So then it's announced that the situation is isolated to the engine room. It's everything's under control. Everyone is a calm.
Lies.
The F down,
Do
go back to your
not-
cabins and remain calm. Like, who's gonna do that?
Don't tell me to be calm.
Like,
We
I
we
would
learned
stay
that.
right at this lifeboat.
101 counseling. Don't tell someone to calm down. We
Right,
don't like it
right,
as
right.
humans.
They're like, you don't need to be gathered at the evacuation stations, which are apparently called muster stations. I learned
Yep,
something.
we are.
A
So
little
deal with it.
lingo. So people kept their life jackets on. I mean, I can relate. I'd be like, this is me now. This is my identity. I just wear a life jacket. Get used to it. Yes.
I paid the $25 for the life jacket.
Yeah, I paid the
I
extra.
had my goggles on.
Exactly.
I belong here.
So immediately after that announcement, the lights flickered and went out.
Great.
The ship had lost all power. So though the fire was put out by 6:08 a.m., there were now other problems. The power had disabled the ship's propulsion system, so it's not going anywhere, stuck there, middle of the ocean.
What's that new Netflix movie about the ship that goes through like the Bermuda Triangle thing?
No.
It's been out for a while, but I started watching it. It's super trippy. I didn't finish it, but it is trippy.
Oh, like
Interesting.
a documentary.
It's like 504, or no, it's like numbers. No. It's about a ship in the middle, and it's like a weird. It goes through like this time warp thing. You need to watch it.
Well, if you find out the name of it,
I'm actually surprised you haven't heard of it.
I will watch it because it sounds right up my alley.
I
Have you
think
watched
so.
the airplane one? Like Malaysian Airlines.
The one that was off the real
that-
thing.
that
Yeah,
disappeared, yeah.
I haven't watched that. No, but I
That's interesting.
think you did that as your topic.
I never did that one.
Did-
So two
I-
tugboats were sent to the ship to pull it to a port. This big ass ship. So
I'm
3,143
happy
passengers.
Ships out to like pull it.
Well, tugboats, I said.
Okay.
You know how those are little?
1899 is what it's called.
Oh, I'm gonna check it out. And 1,100 staff were stranded in the Gulf of Mexico. I was actually surprised that they have a 1-to-3 staff to passenger ratio.
That's a pretty good ratio.
It's a good ratio.
That's actually
That's
really
good.
good.
It's more than working at a daycare. Yeah. So day one,
You have to be supervised more on a ship.
9:00 a.m. Power is still down. The ship is not moving. They're stuck. ACs are not working. It's hot.
Mhm.
Running water is not working.
Uh-oh.
Elevators are not working. So people with mobility issues, think about that. You're stuck.
Stranded.
That would freak me out.
Mhm.
Stoves and microwaves are not working, so they can't cook hot meals. And worst of all, the septic system had failed, meaning the toilets were not flushing.
R.I.P.
So this is what I really wanted to play for you on the YouTube.
Like,
So this announcement went out over the loudspeaker at this point, and just God bless the staff member that had to make this announcement.
Please do it in the red bag.
Oh wait, I gotta back that up a few seconds.
hello, there's poop all over the stairs.
Okay.
Delivered a message that left passengers horrified.
We're going to deliver some red bags to your cabins, to the bathrooms if you can. If you need to do a number 2, you need a poop. Please do it in the red bag and drop it off in the bins, in the corridors. And if you need to do a number 1, that's a wee. Please do it in the shower. Thank you, folks. I'll be back with any more updated.
Pee in the shower, poop in the red bag. leave
Yes.
it for us to pick up.
So if you didn't catch that,
That's a pretty good plan though, if you're like,
Trying to get rid of the
Yeah,
contaminants.
that's
And, yeah. I mean, it's a good plan. I wouldn't want to hear it.
I wouldn't want to hear
have you ever
it.
pooped in a bag?
No, but
Okay.
I mean,
Maybe.
at least that's better than
I have.
going out.
I did when I
In
had to
the
do my
hallway?
colon thing.
Right.
And it was
Sample?
weird. It was weird.
Like if you have to give a sample.
Yeah, it was real weird. I just don't want to spend that much time looking at my poop. Like
There was a
that.
bag in the bucket when I had to do my thing.
Oh,
They
there
had
was?
tested it.
Yes.
Oh,
So
never had.
the announcement said we're going to deliver some red bags to your
I have
cabin.
no
So
shame
these
anymore
are
after that.
This
like
is so much-
biohazard
This is so
bags.
much better than that. People just going into the hallway or
Well,
like,
just wait,
or like
Tara.
going off the edge of the
Can
balcony.
we just
and-
wait?
Can we-
Can we just
Can
wait?
we shelve the optimism?
Yeah. So it says we're going to deliver some red bags to your
Off the
cabin,
shit.
to the bathrooms. If you can, if you need to do a number 2, a poop, please do it in the red bag and drop it off in the bins in the corridors. And if you did need to do a number 1, that's a wee. Please do it in the
That's a wee.
shower. So that was the
Showers
announcement.
were still draining.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
if you're working on a cruise ship and your boss is like, "Hey, can you tell people about this
Well, it's
situation?"
probably after that poor person's like, I have to go pee. Where do I go? And they're like, I guess we should probably tell everybody. Go pee in the shower.
That's the moment where I'd be like, I think I'm gonna change careers.
So toilets already in the cabins and the public areas at this point were already clogged because power had been out for many, many, many hours. So they're already filled with poop. Toilets are already overflowing. And so now hallways became piled up with people putting their infamous red poop bags
Just
out.
put it in the bins.
Yeah, but they're like little bins. I saw photos in the hallways, like little bins
Oh.
overflowing with red poop bags in all the hallways.
Smelly.
So like you put your, you
Well,
get
no
room
stuff.
service and they put it outside your
No
door.
one's like, I get paid to pick those up. Not one person's raising their hand for that.
No, the hallways
Okay,
are just overflowing
my
with
idea.
red poop bags.
Here's my idea.
What's your idea?
Let's go through, collect them, put them in a lifeboat, and send it out to sea until somebody can go like clean it up later.
That'd be a good idea.
Thank you.
Nobody did that though.
That's
So
unfortunate.
hallways were just overflowing with these red
I have
poop
a better
bags.
idea. We take that
Okay.
lifeboat, we get on it, the three of us, and we say,
Oh.
GTF out of there.
yeah,
And leave the poop on.
Yeah.
and everybody else.
Okay.
If they can't figure
I'm
out how to
down.
lower the boat by now.
I mean, at this point, I would
mean,
not be eating
I would be-
anything.
no, at this
cutting
point,
ropes.
I would be
I
on
would've
starvation
been-
diet. I'm
And
like,
if I-
there's no way I'm pooping.
If other people haven't figured that out by then, that is on them. If they chose to
Get to the
stay in that
kitchen, find a butcher knife.
bunch of followers,
Cut the
bunch of
ropes.
sheep.
Lower the lifeboat. No, exit strategy. I'm all about exit
Yeah,
strategy.
go ahead and try to sue me for exiting the boat at this point. I don't care. I'm
Yeah,
dying.
Yeah.
out of here. So
I'm a guinea pig at that point. You didn't clean my cage for months.
oh, it's abusive.
Yeah, they're being abusive to me. If I choose to escape the abusive relationship, I'm allowed.
The Triumph stabilizers were also affected by
I
the
don't know if
fire.
that's true. Anybody? Sorry, legally.
Do you know what that means?
Say it again.
The Triumph stabilizers were also affected by the fire.
The
Stabilizers, the
No.
ship
Oh, like their
stabilizers.
equalizer so that they
Ooh,
know
so that
place their
meant the
safety.
whole ship started to list heavily to the side.
Poop was
This
sloshing.
meant toilets spilled out into the halls, onto the floors,
Oh.
soaked through the walls, soaked the floors, soaked
is
the
a night-
carpets.
Mare.
Imagine your cabin just completely filled with shit water.
I feel sad for these people.
I-
That's awful.
I feel not too sad. Guests escaped their cabins
Just
now.
imagine all these people like, I'm on vacation, so happy, and like kids, and then it's just like a literal shit show.
Yeah. So they decided, because the cabins are now not inhabitable. So everybody started, because this carpets were soggy, they showed people like pressing on the carpets and like poop water would just
like
coming
like
up,
during
and they
freezing
said the
water
smell
today.
was terrible. Man, it's also hot, no AC. Can you imagine the smell?
could have also designated like one part of the ship, like certain room, like, okay, we're gonna buddy up some people so we can have some empty rooms. I'm probably sure they had empty rooms anyways. Have that be where the disposal of the red bags were.
Nobody thought that far
There
ahead.
needed to be a better plan.
Like, or like designated, we're gonna just all shit in these toilets.
Like
and that way
everybody
if you're
carry
leaving
your
overflow-
red bags to this designated area.
Not just in the holes.
The poop deck.
Well, and I mean, I get the sloshing out part, but like, they probably didn't expect that the boats, they probably didn't know that was gonna happen.
Where is the poop deck?
Wait a minute,
I don't
isn't this
know.
the captain's job? Didn't he not take a class?
Or she, or they.
Or they,
Uh,
did the captain of
what is a
any
poop deck? What is it? I'm
notoriety?
sorry. What is the poop
The
deck?
front of the deck,
I
the
don't
front of the
know.
boat?
Any part of the deck?
So guests
Is it?
started to escape their cabins, which I understandable. So they're dragging their mattresses out onto the outside decks, and they used rope, sheets, and blankets to create a tent city on the tanning deck. So helicopters from the news stations were flying out and like sending images to the news channels of
Is that
everybody
where the
out.
orcs went down below?
Maybe.
Yes. Okay.
So it's very like Survivor at this point. Like we're just gonna do what we can to get by. So here's, the ship staff. They're trying their best. So they
Darndest.
decided to deal with the passengers' frustrations by giving everyone unlimited free drinks. So now you have-
I'm drunk.
I mean, okay.
I mean, it
not
could be
against that.
okay. People could get kind of rowdy.
You want to know what the poop deck is?
Yes. What's the poop deck?
The poop deck is basically used by the vessel's commanding superiors to observe the work and navigational proceedings. Technically,
Oh.
it is the deck that forms the roof of a cabin built in the aft part of the superstructure of the ship.
So they could have put the
So,
poop there.
As the name suggests, the main deck is the primary deck.
The thing is so heat rises, smell goes up, like down below is actually, yeah, probably not the best.
Yeah, let's
place
put it
for
way up top.
Why not? I mean, I would kind of like the send it out to sea idea. I get that there's like contaminants, but
No, we're putting it in a boat. We're gonna go back and get it later.
Yeah.
We're just putting it
Yeah, we're not
away.
littering. We just need the smell to go.
Yeah. Like
No
maybe
one's
attach
picking-
it by a
no
long
one's
rope.
picking up the humans at this point. What's gonna make me think that they're gonna go back to pick up my shit
Well,
after?
2 people were evacuated by the Coast Guard because they were having a medical
Wait.
emergency.
2 people they got off?
Only 2.
Why was not this whole time a person a minute?
They can get 2 off.
Because they were having medical emergencies.
You know, but weren't
Yeah.
they all at this point?
No, they were just uncomfortable. So
They're just being yeah, I mean, we live a privileged life. We
though
do.
many passengers praised the crew for doing all they could to help them be comfortable, it was the red bags that were simply too much to handle. There was also, because they couldn't cook food, so there was dwindling food supplies. That meant passengers had to line up for hours to receive their cold onion and cucumber sandwiches. At
Were
least
they
they
waiting-
had food.
Were they waiting for another cruise ship to come or something to pick up all the people? Like, what are they waiting
No,
for?
they're tugboating, remember? Back to the
Oh, yes,
US,
that part,
which takes
okay.
a long time.
Hmm.
So 3 other Carnival ships did try to sail up to the Triumph and drop off provisions. So it did help, but it
Why
was,
couldn't
it
they
was
just
tough.
transfer the people from one ship to the other?
They don't want all those stinky people.
That's
on
probably
the-
why they're worried about
clean ship.
contamination. Yeah.
So the tugs did the best they could to pull the massive ship. And
Well, they probably have like weight and occupancy limits and all that stuff.
yeah, and like they have enough food for their
I
people.
mean, there's so many cruise ships out there. I
We've
feel
all
like you
seen
could get it
Titanic.
together
We've all
and,
seen
like,
Titanic at the
get
end.
one.
At the end, when they're like,
You know,
do we
Disney,
risk them flipping us over?
No, Disney had a
Yeah, how do you decide who goes on that cruise ship if those cruise ships are already full and your cruise ship is full?
get
You
an
can't bring
empty-
everybody.
Women and
Shit.
children first.
There's got to be an extra cruise ship hanging around somewhere that they could have sent out.
Like an empty one.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
put-
the clean one, Sarah? You want them to send a clean one?
yeah.
These people
What's the problem?
are covered with feces.
They're gonna have to clean it again, Sarah.
Too
That's
bad.
cleaning 2 ships instead of 1 ship.
Yeah.
If they just sink this one then done.
Okay.
Then the
That
people
makes
go
sense.
home and clean themselves in their private showers and pee in their private showers.
4
What if
days.
they pick up a habit and start peeing in the other carnival? You know,
Like animals.
like animals learning bad habits.
4 days after the fire,
So this is much stronger than I was
the ship was
expecting.
brought into Mobile, Alabama. It was the largest ship that had ever docked there, and it took 6 hours to maneuver it in.
It was called Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah. At last, the guests and staff were able to set foot on land. There's footage of them getting off there and doing like what I did when we got into the US from Canada. Just like kissing the ground.
Yep.
Wow.
The ship has since been cleaned and renamed the Sunrise.
Right, remind me never to go on that.
There were many lawsuits,
Mm-hmm.
many. Some were wanting $5,000 a day for the rest of their lives. But as cruise law
Yeah.
news predicted, the lawsuits eventually pooped out.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like who has more money. They basically just keep it open until they run out of money.
And if you can't prove that you're actually,
They had to pay him out.
Injured,
They
you
had
know.
to pay him out something though.
I mean, they fed them.
No, I guarantee you
They-
those packets of disclosures include pooping on yourself and others. Like it's in there.
Like fecal matter may end up on you. Your fecal matter
Right,
or
sharing a
somebody
safety
else's.
system. You're like all these things. I guarantee. I'd love to read one of those things now.
That would be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
to learn
To-
to read their
The
like
fine print.
And now that I've
The
like
waiver.
rented a building, like reading those lease agreements, I'm like, you sneaky MFers, I see you in here like covering your butt.
uh-huh.
That's
Covering your butt.
unintentional.
All right.
Good one.
If you listened to our last episode, we talked about how the original draft of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was very different.
It was. And I talked about
Oh my gosh. I don't remember.
Charlie like just
I was going 40 Acres of Mule, but that was the one before.
vanity. No,
Envy.
Envy.
You
Yeah.
talked about one of the 7 deadly sins, envy.
Yes. About the very biological urge of envy.
Check out our Patreon. It's a great way to support us financially, and you get access to lots of exclusives.
We almost died today twice. I almost died today twice. Everyone almost died today once, other than me. Well, maybe twice, up and down. So I almost died 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But you didn't.
I didn't. None of us died. Or I'm dead and I'm just a ghost here now.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Until next time. Always carry a red bag with you, just in case.
Mhm.
I don't know. Don't go on a cruise ship.
Until next time, if something's wrong, make sure you tell someone what's wrong before you run away.
She's holding a grudge against me for life.
Yes. Oh, that could be another good topic, grudges.
Ooh.
Isn't that a movie? The Grudge?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
I
a
never saw
scary
that.
movie. Wrong. Make sure you tell someone what's wrong before you run away.
She's holding a grudge against me for life.
Yes. Oh, that could be another good topic, grudges.
Ooh.
Isn't that a movie? The Grudge?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
I
a
never saw
scary
that.
movie.